What if you could travel back in time and buy a loaf of bread for a penny? This isn't a fantasy scenario, but a glimpse into the purchasing power of the US dollar when it was first established. The history of the American dollar is a fascinating tale of economic evolution, political struggles, and the changing face of global finance. This video delves into the dollar's journey from its silver-backed origins to its current status as a fiat currency, exploring the factors that have shaped its value and influence over time. All sources used in this video are included in the description below. Before we dive deeper into the fascinating history of the US dollar, take a moment to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You won't want to miss our upcoming videos on economic history and financial insights. Now, let's continue our journey through the dollar's remarkable past. The story of the US dollar begins in the late 18th century when the Founding Fathers sought to establish a national currency. In 1785, the Continental Congress authorized the issuance of a new currency, the US dollar. The term dollar was already familiar to Americans, as it referred to the Spanish silver dollar or piece of eight that had been widely circulated in the colonies. The Coinage Act of 1792, championed by Alexander Hamilton, officially established the dollar as the basic unit of account for the United States. This act also created the United States Mint, tasked with producing and circulating coinage. The new American dollar was designed to be on par with the Spanish silver dollar, ensuring continuity and familiarity for the young nation's economy. In its early days, the US dollar was firmly rooted in precious metals. The Coinage Act of 1792 defined the dollar in terms of both silver and gold, creating a bimetallic standard. This system aimed to provide stability and trust in the new currency. However, as we'll see, the relationship between the dollar and precious metals would become a source of controversy and economic challenges in the decades to come. The 19th century brought significant changes to the dollar's composition and value. The Coinage Act of 1834 altered the silver-to-gold ratio from 15:1 to 16:1, effectively reducing the gold content of the dollar. This change was made in response to fluctuations in the relative values of silver and gold, highlighting the challenges of maintaining a bimetallic standard. As the nation grew and faced various economic pressures, the government began to experiment with paper currency. During the Civil War, the need for financing led to the issuance of demand notes, commonly known as greenbacks. These notes marked a significant shift in US monetary policy, as they were not directly backed by precious metals but by the faith and credit of the government. The late 19th century saw one of the most heated debates in American monetary history, the cross of gold controversy. This debate centered around whether to maintain the gold standard or to allow the free coinage of silver at a ratio of 16:1 with gold. The controversy came to a head in the 1896 presidential election, with William Jennings Bryan delivering his famous Cross of Gold speech at the Democratic National Convention. Bryan passionately argued for bimetallism, claiming that the gold standard was harming farmers and working-class Americans. He declared, "You shall not crucify mankind upon a cross of gold." Despite Bryan's eloquence, he lost the election, and the US formally adopted the gold standard in 1900. The early 20th century brought further changes to the dollar's status. The Federal Reserve Act of 1913 established the Federal Reserve System as the central bank of the United States. This move centralized monetary policy and led to the issuance of Federal Reserve notes, which remain the primary form of US currency today. The dollar's link to gold remained intact, albeit in a modified form, until the mid-20th century. However, the strains of financing World War II and the subsequent Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944 set the stage for significant changes. Under Bretton Woods, the US dollar became the world's primary reserve currency, with other nations pegging their currencies to the dollar, which in turn was pegged to gold at $35 per ounce. This system held until 1971 when President Richard Nixon made the momentous decision to suspend the dollar's convertibility to gold. This action, known as the Nixon shock, effectively ended the Bretton Woods system and ushered in the era of fiat currency for the US dollar. Since the abandonment of the gold standard, the dollar has experienced significant changes in its purchasing power. To illustrate this point, consider that in 1913, when the Federal Reserve was established, $1 had roughly the same purchasing power as $29 in 2023. This means that a dollar today buys only about 3.4% of what it could buy in 1913. The weakening of the dollar's purchasing power over time is largely attributed to inflation. While moderate inflation is generally considered normal in modern economies, the cumulative effect over decades has been substantial. Factors contributing to this trend include expansionary monetary policies, government deficit spending, and changes in the global economic landscape. Despite its declining purchasing power, the US dollar has maintained its status as the world's primary reserve currency. As of the fourth quarter of 2023, approximately 58.4% of allocated foreign bank reserves were denominated in US dollars. This continued dominance is a testament to the size and strength of the US economy and the depth of its financial markets. However, the dollar's reserve currency status is not without challenges. In recent years, there has been increasing discussion about de-dollarization, or the potential reduction of the dollar's influence in global trade and finance. Some countries have sought to diversify their reserves away from the dollar, citing concerns about US monetary policy and geopolitical tensions. As we reflect on the dollar's journey from a silver-backed currency to today's fiat money, it's clear that its history is intertwined with the economic and political development of the United States. The dollar has weathered wars, depressions, and radical shifts in monetary policy, emerging as a symbol of American economic power on the global stage. Yet, the question posed at the beginning of this video remains: what if you could buy a loaf of bread for a penny? While time travel remains impossible, understanding the history of the dollar provides valuable insights into the nature of money, inflation, and economic policy. It reminds us that the value of currency is not absolute but relative, shaped by the complex interplay of political decisions, economic forces, and societal changes. As we look to the future, the dollar faces new challenges and opportunities. Digital currencies, changing global power dynamics, and evolving economic theories all have the potential to reshape the role of the US dollar in the world economy. Whether the dollar will maintain its dominant position or give way to new forms of currency remains to be seen. What is certain is that the story of the American dollar, with its rich history and far-reaching influence, will continue to be a crucial chapter in the ongoing narrative of global finance.